right, Sandra, former Biden White House officials are leading the charge on a new project promising to be a, quote, new and improved playbook for the Democrats. It's called Project 2029, and they're hoping it will win them the presidency in 2028. Joining me now is Katie Pavlich, Fox News contributor. So let me put up on the screen some of the brain trust behind Project 2029. And at the top of the list are Neera Tanden and Jake Sullivan. Neera Tanden, who's been around since the Clinton administration. Jake Sullivan, who, of course, was tied to the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan. I mean, this would seem to be literally the same old gang trying to retread Democratic policies instead of a new set of tires on a new car.
Yeah, the top two names there certainly stick out given they are affiliated with the Biden administration and the disastrous policies the American people saw with the 4 years of Joe Biden in the White House. Democrats are in this place where they need to do a moratorium to figure out what exactly went wrong. They're trying to propose moving forward with new ideas. That's what this 2029 project is, which I think is so interesting given how much grief they gave the Trump campaign for daring to give into some of the ideas in what was called Project 25. And yet they're going forward with this. And they're interesting because you look at the debate they're having inside the Democratic Party, and they're saying, on one hand, they're warming to some of these policies that Trump has put out, no tax on tips, for example. On the other hand, some of them think they just have a messaging problem rather than a policy problem. And Neera Tanden, in particular, is the head of the Center for American Progress, a very far-left think tank here in Washington, D.C. When you look at the national electorate during the presidential election, every county shifted to the right, essentially, in the country. And so for them to bring in not someone who's a centrist necessarily, this moderate, elusive moderate Democrat we're trying to find, you have someone who is leading one of the most far-left academic institutions in the country trying to reshape the Democratic Party, which tells you it's a very far-left leaning party.
So here's how the New York Times saw it in an article. It said, quote, sound familiar? Democrats lay groundwork for a Project 2029. The plan to write a policy agenda for the next Democratic president is at the center of a raging debate within the party, whether its biggest problem is its ideas or its difficulty in selling them. So is it bad messaging or bad policy?
It's both. When you have bad policy, it's very difficult to have good messaging. And so when they've had a very difficult time for the main reason of that the Democrats have to start completely over. They've lost a number of big coalitions to the Republican Party with President Trump at the head of it. The Republican Party is moving forward with a Trump-type agenda. It's why J.D. Vance was picked as the vice presidential nominee at the RNC to try and bring the MAGA agenda forward, not going back to the old Republican Party politics of the past. And so they have a hard time because they have to rebuild everything. They're used to be so dedicated to identity politics, trying to make sure that every single box was checked off with what they thought people wanted in terms of pandering to these different coalitions, when really they just wanted common sense ideas economically that fit for them. And then finally, we're seeing Joe Biden on the screen, and you still haven't had Democrats, including Neera Tanden last week, who have really come to terms with being honest and transparent about what 4 years of the Biden administration was really like, the big policies they passed through that Americans rejected on the national level, and who was in charge during those 4 years. So they still have a lot of, you would say, soul searching to do before they can really put together this new project in order to put an agenda forward for the next nominee. All
right, so talking about soul searching, and you alluded to this a little bit just a moment ago, Neera Tanden at least seems to realize what the Democrats are up against. She wrote this, quote, liberals underestimate the power of Trump's ideas and that we need better ideas to take on both Trumpism and the GOP. We get wrapped up in his personality. But he puts forward an idea like no tax on tips, and that's an important signifier that he is championing working class people. But the Democrats continue to double down on the policies that lost them the election back in November.
Not just the policies.
They just can't seem to get, I mean, General Russell Honore had a great quote. Now, I'm not going to say that this applies to the Democratic Party, but Russell Honore had a great quote during Katrina, and that's, don't get stuck on stupid.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, Democrats have a policy problem. They can't speak basic language to the American people, to the average American. They have become the party of the elite, the party of multiple degrees, the party of the rich, and the party of the academics who aren't really in touch with the working class because they aren't in touch with the working class. Donald Trump is a specialized politician and candidate because he not only has been able to build wealth for himself, create jobs in the country, but also is very deeply in touch with the working class of America. America, whether it's in New York City or whether it's in all the swing states that he won last time around. And so Democrats have to get out of these academic bubbles they're in about theories and what they think about certain things and actually get down into the dirt to see how people live their lives, the things that affect them. And they've put themselves in this corner for the last 10 years, since 2016 and President Trump beat Hillary Clinton. They've really been unable to get through their Trump derangement syndrome, so to speak. It used to be a joke, but they've never been able to get through that and say, where can we work with Donald Trump on a lot of these issues? Because he's sold as this far-right conservative. He's actually not. He's more of an independent on a lot of
Fetterman
issues, which is why he's so popular.
seems to be the only one in the Democratic Party that gets that.
Exactly. He's the only one. Maybe there will be more.
But I'm sure the Republicans are happy to let the Democrats keep doing the same thing.
They are happy to let them figure out what they need to do and to try and rebuild based on the policies that they lost on last time. Definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again.
Katie, thank you. Appreciate it.
Great to see you, John. Thanks.
And hoping for a different outcome.
Yes, for that.